live.
And I'll check it out on Facebook and I'll let you know when we are actually streaming. Oh, okay, cool. I think we're up.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. This is the man that needs no introduction here. He's the man of the hour. This is Mr. Leslie David Baker joining us for some live Q&A.
Hi, how's everybody?
So I'm going to pull up our comments section on this video so I can read as we go. Oh, let me mute myself so I don't have... let's see. Cool. All right, so Leslie, it's nice to see you. It looks like you're doing well. How's the pandemic treating you?
I'm sick of my own cooking. At this point, I just walk through the kitchen and kind of scowl at the pots and pans, and then try to find a takeout menu if I can. So, but right. I have cooked everything I can possibly have an interest in cooking, and
right. Yeah, this is actually the weekend, the day that we're supposed to be in Scranton. So that's...
Yes, I know. Nobody saw any of this pandemic coming. This is a difficult time in our country. We've got a global part of a global pandemic, and we've also got civil rights movement going, and there's just a lot going on. This is a really tremendous period of growth.
Yeah. But it's awesome that you're able to join us here today. I'm sure everybody, appreciates you jumping in and doing this. We've got some questions lined up for you, so I'll go ahead and ask some of the ones that we have ready, and then we'll take some from some of the fans watching. So we've been seeing some of your Cheerios commercials lately, so I get a big kick out of those. Do you have any other current projects going? I know there's the Uncle Stan, but we'll get to that. But any other current projects going?
Oh my gosh, that's enough, I think. Well, I got some voiceover stuff that I'm doing, but I can't talk about any of that because of the NDA. But right. I've got a couple of animated projects that I'm working on. One thing I can tell you about is that I did help with a children's book, and I can tell you a little more about that. If you go on Amazon, you will be able to see this book. It's called Mitzi the Superhero, as in hero.
Oh, okay.
And it's on for sale at Amazon now. I didn't write it, but I did help with the production of the book, and it's a children's book, and for ages 9, 10, and under, and or adults if you like it. And so if you go on Amazon, look for the book Mitzi the Superhero. So
that's really cool. That'd be a cool item if there's any kids that come to the fest, they want to get something signed.
Not Mitzi the Superhero, Sadie. I stand corrected. I told you almost about another project I'm working on. Okay, Sadie the Superhero, Sadie, Sadie the Superhero, and it's on Amazon. So that's my major mistake for the day. Okay.
All right.
We'll post a link on my Facebook page, so then that way I will have it absolutely correct. So I am apparently doing more than I thought. I'm getting it all confused.
Well, it's good to see you out and about doing things. I'm a prop collector, a costume collector. I have some of your items that you wore in Happy Time Murders. So
yes, that was a fun movie. Enjoyed doing it so much. Melissa McCarthy was such a joy to work with. So hope to do something again with her very soon.
Very cool. All right, before we get into the office questions, we had a fan question from Michaela Dodge. You did a music video with To Be Simple, and
I did.
She was wondering if you were very instrument inclined, if you had any instrument abilities.
If I can play a musical instrument, no. I took piano lessons when I was very little, and I am very, very, very limited on the piano. So I would say no. I sing better than I play a musical instrument. So
gotcha. We were hanging out in the lobby before we got into the Q&A, and we watched that video probably 2 or 3 times. It's great. I love watching that.
That was a fun one. We had a good time doing that.
Yeah, it's so opposite of the Stanley character. Well, sort of. Stanley's a womanizer, and so is the To Be Simple. But
Well, we try to give you different layers to the character of Stanley, and in that video, that was just a made-up character that we
right,
came up with to, push the video, and that was done as a lark to
yeah,
see what would happen. But those are two separate characters.
yeah,
But in terms of Stanley, or you'll get to see Uncle Stan. You'll get to see a whole new side of him once he's relocated to California, and you get to see his interaction with his nephew and his niece and nephew, the little one. And you get to see him interact with the little children, which is something you hadn't seen him do before.
right. Yeah, we're really looking forward to that. We'll jump on some office questions and we'll hop back to Uncle Stan. So whenever you auditioned for the role of Stanley Hudson, like what was the audition process like? So how did you end up as Stanley Hudson?
Allison Jones called my agent, said they had an audition for me. So I went and did the pre-read. And then she says, when you go to the, callback, don't come in as, pressed and, I had on the nice shirt, nice tie, nothing was wrinkled and all that. She said, you're supposed to be a rumpled office employee in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And I went, okay. So I went to the callback audition. I had gotten a call for another audition earlier than that. So when I got to the audition for The Office for Stanley, there were so many people there. I said, you know what? I have time to hop in the car, drive to this other audition, and then come back, which is what I did. On the way back, I ran into railroad crossings and trains and old people out driving and school buses and you name it. So by the time I got back to the audition, I was hot, sweaty, kind of rumpled, a little bit cranky. And when I got there, I immediately went to the restroom. And as I was coming out the door, the casting director came up and said, "Oh, they said you were in the restroom. Thank you so much for waiting all this time." She didn't know I had left and come back. So when I got into the audition, I sat down and I read with Phyllis Smith, who eventually ended up playing Phyllis Lappin Vance on the show. And Greg Daniels said, okay, when you do the scene as scripted, keep going. We want to see your improv capabilities and see where you take the scene and all that. So after we did what was written in the script, then we just kept on going with some dialogue. And I thought, what can I bring in here? And I just turned my being at the other audition into a sales call. Since I was like, oh, I'm a paper salesman, I can say, oh, that sales call I had today, I was out in traffic and every old person got created without driving. And I went on some little rant about that. And apparently the producers laughed, they liked it. And 2 weeks later, I got a call from my agent that said I booked it. So,
oh, that's awesome.
And there you have it.
Well, I can't imagine another actor playing Stanley Hudson. So,
I can't either.
You were perfect. So here's a question. Could you see there being a season 10 or some sort of reunion movie or episode?
Of The Office?
Yeah, of The Office.
It's Hollywood. Anything is possible.
Right.
I don't know about a season 10 necessarily, but a reunion episode, anything is possible. Who knows?
Right.
But everybody is scattered and they're doing their own thing now. So it's kind of hard to get a cast of that size, in one place at any given time.
Get the gang back together, so to speak.
Yeah, well, we're scattered all over the United States I know of. I won't say the globe now because they're not letting us in certain countries. Right. So, but I know at least we're scattered here in the United States. So.
Right. So you've mentioned a few of your castmates and casting directors. Would you say that you have a special bond with anyone in particular from the show, or a favorite castmate that you're still in touch with?
A favorite castmate? Well, I see everybody all the time at the Comic Cons and when we are doing our personal appearances. And I talk to Phyllis, fairly often. So, we sat across the desk from each other at the crack of dawn for 9 seasons. So, yeah.
Right. So another question that we had is, did you have a favorite line or scene from The Office that you filmed?
A favorite scene? Not just one. There were several episodes that I really liked. One was fire. The other was when I was rolling across the parking lot in bubble wrap, sliding down the stairs on cardboard. Steve tried to keep me from swallowing my tongue with his wallet. Me beating up his car with a baseball bat. That was a workout. It's hard tearing up a car. So, there are various episodes that I really liked.
The first episode I remember watching, it was the beach game. So I got to see you in the sumo suit, like chasing after Jim. So it was pretty awesome.
Sumo suits are probably the most uncomfortable thing you will wear. It's like running around in a human blood pressure cuff. When they pump it up for it to go out, then it's also squeezing in on all of your vital organs. So yeah, it makes you have to feel like you got to go to the bathroom the whole time you have the suit on. So.
Oh man. Jessica Overdorf asked, was there a scene that you struggled to get through without breaking character?
Yes. On a daily basis, the answer is yes. So.
All right. So did you keep anything from the show? So did you keep anything as a souvenir, or is there anything that you didn't keep that you would have liked to?
I've got a poster, a big old, for the 100th episode. I've got a pair of my shoes that I used to wear. I've got, I think, a couple of ties. I've got drinking cups and mugs that I used on my desk. I've got a couple of the cars that were on my desk, some of that stuff. And there's some other stuff out in, storage boxes that I have.
Cool. So. I'll hop on to some of the more of the fan Q&A questions. See if there's any of these that haven't been answered yet. Okay. Well, someone asked, are you excited about the spinoff? So we'll go ahead and we'll kick over to Uncle Stan. So we've seen the Kickstarter. It's been funded now, which is amazing. I'm so happy for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I know that there's a lot of that's, secretive right now, but what can you tell us about Uncle Stan?
I can tell you that Uncle Stan is going to allow you to see what happens with the character Stanley Hudson 7 years after he has retired and supposedly moved to Florida. And, you'll realize that in the last episode, they had him moving down to Florida to carve wooden ducks. Well, Stanley is not going to just sit there forever and just start carving things. He has a life, he has wishes, hopes, dreams, ambitions, family members that you did not get a chance to see when the regular series, the original series was filming. So what happens to somebody after they retire? They go somewhere else and then they get tired there. In Stanley Hudson's case, he went to Florida. He's been there for 7 years. He gets a call from his newly widowed nephew, favorite nephew, who needs help running his motorcycle repair shop. And this shop also has his late wife's floral shop, next door. So he knows nothing about flowers. He knows nothing about trying to really operate two businesses at once, let alone try to raise two small children. So he calls his uncle one late night, wakes him up, and is basically help. So, Uncle Stan makes a decision to come out of retirement and move, to the West Coast to help nephew. Uncle Stan is also newly engaged to a fiance, and he doesn't really go into too much detail about why he's suddenly up and moving to the West Coast, but she follows him to the West Coast, and that becomes an issue too. So
how many fiancés is that now for Stanley? I can't remember.
Fiancés, that would just be one.
Well, throughout the series, you've been married, I don't know, several times, I'm pretty sure.
No, twice.
Oh, is it just twice? Okay.
Just twice.
So you've mentioned your nephew in the series, and I understand you may have someone there with you that's going to be part of the series.
Mr. Sardar Khan is one of the producers of the series and co-creator. So yes.
Okay. So Sardar is there helping Leslie out. So shout out to Sardar. Let's see. Another fan question or two. We have Alicia who asked, do you really like crossword puzzles, or is that just a character choice?
Sometimes, and that was a character choice. When we were originally doing The Office, Greg Daniels told us when we went in for our first conference room scene, he said, bring in whatever props you think your character would use in a conference scene. And I looked around on tables, prop tables and desks and all that. And I said, what would this character do to be in a meeting? He's there physically, but he's really checked out. And what would demonstrate that? So I grabbed, looked through a drawer and I found an old crossword puzzle book. So I grabbed that and a pencil. And when it came time for me to deliver my first line, instead of looking up and delivering it, I just delivered it while I was sitting there doing the crossword puzzle and never looked up. Greg Daniels liked the choice that I made, and thus Stanley Hudson was born, and using his crossword puzzles.
And that became such a staple for the character too.
It became a staple for the character. When he was at a pool party, lying fully dressed in a chase, he was doing his crossword puzzle. When the rest of the cast was playing volleyball, and he was sitting in a lawn chair doing his crossword puzzle. So it became a staple.
All right. Let's see. Anna asks, are you going to have anyone from The Office star in Uncle Stan? Do you think there'll be any cameos or guest star kind of appearances?
As that's a writer's question. I'm obviously not a writer. That will depend upon what the scripts allow. If the writers make a decision and they figure out how to weave that into the storyline, of course, invitations will definitely be issued. But again, that's a writer's question, and we'll see what they allow.
All right, let's see. Laura asks, how did the bubble wrap stunt work? So, like, what was the process of doing the bubble wrap scene?
The bubble wrap scene consisted of them trying to get me to go to a meeting that I didn't want to go to, a sales meeting. So after I was sedated and slid down the stairs on cardboard, I was then wrapped in bubble wrap and rolled across the parking lot and crammed into the front seat of a car and driven to the meeting. And then when I got to the meeting, I was taken out of the bubble wrap and very groggily dragged into this meeting, plopped into a chair. So, bubble wrap is very comfortable. I recommend you roll across the parking lot, get you some bubble wrap.
Brittany asks, what would you say are the differences between you, Leslie David Baker, and your character Stanley Hudson?
I hope a little more lively. I think I like people more. I definitely laugh a lot more than Stanley does. Although in the new series, Uncle Stan, you're going to get to see him laugh quite a bit more because he's going to be interacting with his family and little children and more people that, but you'll get to see some grumpy Stan too, because he's going to be interacting with the people who work at this motorcycle shop. So, so you'll get to see some variety, some layers, we hope.
Michaela asks, are there any Stanley lines you've adopted into your own life that you still use? Is there anything that Stanley said that you catch yourself saying?
No, not really. I can't think of anything.
Gotcha. Several of these I think we have an answer for already. Let's see. Oh, someone said that they bet that you still use "Did I Stutter?" That's one of my favorite Stanley lines.
Stanley probably will still use it, but
let's see. Which ones? The most? All right. We only met one of Stanley's daughters, but he is mentioned of having two daughters. What happened to the second daughter?
That's a writer's issue, and that might be something that might be answered in the Uncle Stan show, because you never did see my other child. And by now, both daughters would be adults. So that is something that can be explored in the Uncle Stan show.
So yeah, that might be something that's answered in Uncle Stan.
Mhm.
You got to visit Scranton with the series wrap. Is that correct?
I did not go during the series wrap because I was unable to attend then. I did go when we had the convention there.
Okay.
Um,
Someone wanted to know what you thought about Scranton when you visited.
when I visited, I had a wonderful time. We got a chance to go visit with the mayor at his house and meet his wife and children. And we got to go on the big locomotive. We had a wonderful, wonderful time. All of the people at the University of Scranton were so gracious, and the entire town, they really rolled out the red carpet and made us feel so welcome. It was, cold and outside, but everybody made us feel so warm and welcoming. It was very nice. Had a great time.
Someone wants to know, Aaron wants to know what it was like working with James Spader.
Fun. He's got this memory that he can look at a sheet of dialogue and it's in his head, and he just looks and it's like click and shoot and executes. But very, very fun to work with. Very wise man. Very knowledgeable about his craft and about the industry. Fascinating to sit down and talk to when the camera's not rolling.
The Lizard King. So, question, just off the top of my head, are you very familiar with the superhero franchise of the Marvel DC movies?
Yes.
If you could play any superhero or villain, which would you choose?
Super. That's a good one, huh? I can't really make up my mind.
You'd be like a mix.
Oh,
You'd be
I
one
guess
part Professor X.
probably, yeah, maybe Professor X, but then he's in that chair.
Yeah, but you have.
But I want, I like what's his face with the cape. Magneto. Yeah, because I guess in a wheelchair and a cape. I don't know. Who knows?
So something in the X-Men franchise, maybe.
In the X-Men franchise.
And slightly Nightcrawler-ish, because you're a very loving person, so slightly Nightcrawler-ish.
There you go.
Because I should be night crawling. Okay.
Jacqueline asks, was there a certain actor that made you break character the most? Was there somebody that whenever they talked, you couldn't stay in character?
No, I think the only person who could get me on occasion, Steve Carell could get me on occasion. But I spend a lot of time biting the left back part of my tongue, so to stay in character.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. How many times? Jesse Tilton says, how many times have you watched the show, or have you watched it?
Well, I've watched it. There's some episodes I've only seen once. There's some episodes I've seen more than once. It varies. I know when we were working doing the show, I would every week we'd meet over at either Greg Daniels' house or and we would watch the finished episode, because oftentimes when you're doing a show, you sit at the table, you read that, but then by the time it's actually put on film, it's gonna come across differently, and by the time it's edited and all that, so the script that you might read in one part of the week, by the time it's filmed and edited and the show takes on a completely different level, and then you're sitting down watching it, you're no longer the actor, you're watching it as the audience member. So I've seen a variety of different episodes at different times.
Right. All right. I think we're going to start wrapping up. We'll find one more question here. All right. Who is Jackie Johnson asks, who was your favorite guest star to work with?
Oh gosh, I don't know if I had a favorite. I had favorites.
Okay.
I loved working with Idris Elba, loved working with Kathy Bates, James Spader, of course. Amy Adams was fun, because she's got this encyclopedic knowledge of music, and we would play this game in the set while we were waiting around, and you come up with a letter, and then you have to come up with a song that goes with it. So that kept us highly amused during, spaces between takes. So, and just varied. Got a chance to work with Kevin McHale from Glee, which was big fun, because I'm seeing your pizza delivery box, and that's what made me think of it. that
This is Alfredo's Pizza Cafe. So that's the good one. It's not Pizza by Alfredo. It's not the hot circle of garbage.
so had him locked in the conference room, holding the pizza boy hostage. So we got a chance to see him, and we got a chance to catch up in 2013 at the Correspondents' Dinner in Washington. So we were laughing about how his career was just starting to, come forward when he's, guest starred on our show. So
Awesome.
mhm.
So I think we're going to go ahead and start wrapping up. I know that everybody is excited to see you when we finally get to have our shindig in Scranton.
Yes, we're hoping that this pandemic will soon be a thing of the past, and then we can actually get together and see each other in person. Yeah, because this Zoom stuff is like it's handy technologically, but it doesn't replace being there in person.
Right. So thank you again for joining us. Is there anything that you'd like to close on or say before we leave Facebook?
Yes, Sadar wants to pop in and say something.
Hey guys, I just want to let you guys know, and actually also say this. I want to thank you guys, one, for being patient and working with us during this whole process, and continuing to stand by while we figure out what's going on with the corona. But as it is over, we will definitely be doing the Fan Fest, and we really look forward to seeing everybody. And there will be some surprises coming for everybody that has held on and that stayed with us. That's been patient and so cool about it. So I want to say thank you, and we will have some surprises for you at the Fan Fest.
Awesome.
Yeah, what he said.
Well, thank you,
And
Bud.
I'll be there too.
Yeah, for sure. We're excited. We're excited about some of those experiences too that people can do. So that's going to be
Looking
fun.
forward to seeing everybody in Scranton once all of this Michigas is straightened out. So,
Absolutely.
and thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. It's been a pleasure. So Facebook, thanks for joining in. Next up is Kim Ferry, which is someone I believe that Leslie's familiar with.
I love Kim Ferry. Kim Ferry is, she does all things hair and just keeps people, that's why it's Kim Ferry, the hair fairy. Yes, she can turn your hair magical. So
Yeah.
we love her.
Yep. So make sure you come back and check her out. She'll be on in roughly 30 minutes or so. So thanks everybody on Facebook. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Sardar.
Thanks for having me. Have a good one.
All right. Thank you guys.